it's Jeremy Van here, Radio 2. Let's talk about this pub in Northampton, because the pub owner has come under fire for telling 3 young men with learning disabilities that they are no longer allowed to sing at the karaoke night. One of the lads is 23-year-old James Smythe, who's got Down syndrome. He and his 2 friends, David Griffiths and Kiefer Courtney Lee, were regulars at the Friday night singing session at the Abington pub until they were told they weren't allowed up on stage anymore because their singing was not good enough. The family and the carers of the 3 men are angry about the decision. They say it is discriminatory. I'm joined by Laurie Duggan, owner of Ryan QC Homes, which is where James, Kiefer and David, all 3 live in supported accommodation. First, let's speak to Neil Bartholomey. He's owner of the Abington pub. And had they been singing quite often, Neil?
Over the last 5 or 6 months, yes.
And you decided that they shouldn't be heard in the karaoke?
The decision based on their ability to sing, and everybody seems to have taken this out of context. There aren't 2 sides to a story. There are facts, and then everybody decides to put their own slants on it. And James is a lovely lad, and he's very welcome in the Abington. But unfortunately, James just simply cannot sing. He just shouts words.
Okay, and was that annoying other customers?
It was.
Did you lose business as a result?
There were people that left the premises because that there was something that was going on in the business which needed to be addressed. And that basically is the fact of that we had to address an issue.
There will be people who say that the whole point of karaoke is that it is for people who can't sing. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do a karaoke who could sing.
I would agree that there are levels of singing, and I probably can't sing at all. But at the end of the day, karaoke is there for enjoyment, and it's enjoyment for everybody. And if something stops that enjoyment for everybody, then there has to be a balance, and then we have to deal with it. Whether it be that somebody was shouting or somebody was being annoying, you just ask somebody to desist from that activity.
What about the idea that if somebody has a disability, you make an allowance and essentially your allowance helps them to enjoy the activity in the same way that other people could?
That's totally right, and we do loads for people with Down syndrome, and it's a bit of a shame that people haven't sort of looked into this and what the Abington actually does for these. There's not very many people actually employ Down syndrome people, and we employed Stephen Moore for over 4 years. And they come into us regularly for lunches. We do their Christmas dinner for them. We've done no end of stuff within the community to help and support these people. So the fact that somebody is accusing me of something that clearly is very untrue...
Well, discrimination.
Discrimination, yes. It's deeply disappointing.
But I mean, by definition, what you've done is discrimination. There's just a question of whether what you've done is justifiable or not, isn't it? Because if you say that one person, leave aside their disabilities, if you say that this particular group of people aren't allowed to sing because they can't sing, by definition, that is discrimination. There's no other word for it, is it?
They're creating a nuisance to other people, and therefore running a business you have to deal with it. I don't think you would have an entrepreneur that would have something in their business plan where you invite customers to come in and shout at your other customers so that they leave.
Neil, on that, Neil, that sounds a little bit insensitive, if you don't mind me saying so.
Of course it is, and at the end of the day, we have equal opportunities for everybody, and I tried to have a word, I think it was with Alex Duggan on the evening, to try and find a compromise and come up with something that worked for everybody. But I'm afraid Alex Duggan didn't wish to communicate with me whatsoever, and poor old James ended up being taken out of the premises, and not necessarily of his own free will, because he didn't have a choice. And I just think that somebody that comes in and enjoys the atmosphere and being taken away when they don't really understand what was happening, I didn't think that that really was in James's best interest, really. And we had an opportunity to discuss this with Alex.
Yeah.
And Alex refused to do it.
Let me read some comments, please. Stuart Smith in Ringwood in Hampshire says, I think what the pub needs to do is manage this situation better, maybe give them a predetermined slot or give them one song each. You don't ban them completely. How about that?
And we've not said that they can't do that. In fact, if you look at Monday's paper, it says clearly in there that, if hopefully James's vocal skills will improve and he can come back and do an audition. What he can't do is dominate the night, and I didn't say that he did, but what he can't do is get up 2 or 3 times when clearly, he physically cannot sing. And the words sing has to be an enjoyment for everybody. And unfortunately, James, he's a lovely lad. He just cannot sing. And I don't even think it comes close to singing. Shouting words down a microphone, which becomes really painful and upsetting to the rest of the pub. And as much as everybody would like to, we do show a level of tolerance, of course we do, but if people are leaving the pub, then I have to deal with it.
All right, okay. Okay, so we're talking about the whole business in the pub in Northampton, and it was James Smythe in particular who's got Down syndrome, and the manager doesn't let him sing now in the karaoke because he says he shouts. And funny enough, Marianne is on the line, who's James's sister. Hello.
Hello.
This is a bizarre story, isn't it?
Well, I feel like it's kind of gone to the wrong way of how it all started.
Yeah, well, I suppose that we haven't got much time. Let's just ask you this key question. Does James shout?
I've never heard James shout in my life, and he struggles with reading, which is one of his difficulties, so he just sings songs that he knows, and I'm not saying that he may be the best singer or anything like that, but he joins in and he has fun, and it's the first time in his life he's had the chance to go out to a pub on a Friday night with friends who have the same needs as him, and he enjoys himself, and when they went to the pub, I've heard that because they hadn't been handed a book to their table for the karaoke, it was already planned that they weren't allowed to sing, and who knows, one of them may have been able to sing, maybe someone else wanted to join in too, but it had already been decided before they'd been given a chance that night to show whether they could sing or not, before anything happened. So it's not really fair to say that it was because they were bad singers, because they haven't been given a chance that night.
But they'd been on before, I guess, and the pub manager decided it was bad for business.
Yeah, well, he says it's bad. He said that it was bad for business because they couldn't sing because they had special needs. And James thanked him and shook his hand because he knows how to act socially. He knows how to behave in front of other people.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's ever in the pub again and he does the karaoke, they're gonna be crammed, aren't they? They're gonna be packing the house out.
James doesn't want to go back to the pub because of how he was treated. Oh. He was the one who didn't want to be there. He didn't want to stay there anymore, and he said that to me. Okay. So I just think it's atrocious to say that James wanted to stay because Neil doesn't know my brother.
Okay, Marianne, thank you for calling. Have a good day.
Thank you.
See you, bye.
Thanks, bye.
Charlie Driver.